please welcome on stage the President of GLOBSEC, Robert Vash.
Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished guests, welcome to annual Tatra Summit Forum, the 5th edition. The snow has already come to Tatra Mountains, but there is a great deal of frost in international relations as well. We are meeting here in a time when Europe is facing multiple challenges. To name just a few: Brexit, migration, the CETA deal. Rules are being questioned, Syria suffering, Ukraine is struggling, America hesitating, and Europe is vulnerable as well. To use the famous title of the book of E.L. Doctorow, Welcome to Hard Times. But we have not come here to despair. Our honorable guest, Wolfgang Schäuble, once said, "Crisis and pressure foster change, and that is why there is no need to be pessimistic about change." I definitely agree. And the Tatra Summit is about Europe, about discussion about the future of Europe. Europe understood as common values, single economic space, and as a political actor at global stage. But as the geopolitical conditions are worsening, Europe seems to be unsure of itself. There is less and less conviction where EU wants to go. But the Slovak EU presidency wants to facilitate the debate on the future of Europe, and GLOBSEC is proud to be part of that and contribute to the success of the presidency. We need solutions, ideas, fixes coming from people of knowledge and experience, and that is why we have invited all of you to provide guidance and advice to discuss about the future. As they say in the Marines during the times of storm, all hands on deck. So we have several days of discussions, and I hope we'll be able to say on Wednesday that we moved the discussion on the future of Europe further. I would like to thank for all of our partners and supporters who have supported this conference, because without them it would be impossible to organize it. First of all, the Ministry of Finance of the Slovak Republic and Mr. Peter Kažimír for his support and cooperation, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Open Society Foundation, the Norwegian Embassy, Visegrad Fund, but also our private partners, Tatra Banka, Mr. Michal Lidaj, Citibank, Microsoft, EPH, Philip Morris, MasterCard, Slovnaft, Megairi, Google, and many, many companies and institutions that have supported the debate on the future of Europe. Thank you for your support. Thank for all of you who have come to Bratislava, and I wish you excellent discussions and fruitful discussions in the upcoming days. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, good afternoon. 2016 is an exceptional year for Slovakia and for European Union as well. For Slovakia, of course, because we are holding historically first presidency of the Council of European Union. Actually, we are more than halfway through, and I'm quite confident that we can still, in the remaining time, deliver on most of our priorities. And it is exceptional, I dare say, for European Union, because the circumstances are extraordinary. You can imagine that in this year historical decisions were taken, and the Slovak presidency is also facing them. So those are the two reasons that we have taken for this conference, and we believe that they offer a lot of stuff to be discussed. I realized, by the way, because this is Tatra Summit, that this is the second summit taking place in Slovakia during our presidency, but the first one, the famous, where 27 heads of states met in this capital city of Slovakia, took place behind closed doors. And that's one of the reasons that we have decided to organize a second one, this summit, but this is open. And this is offering a platform for decision makers, for politicians, but for think tankers, for broad society, for journalists, because we want to bring this debate out of the rooms behind which important decisions are taken. So the program is well known, but before that, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to inform you that the organizers of Tatra Summit have decided to honor and recognize one outstanding personality, a politician holding responsibility in his country for a very long time, and a personality that has been influencing European politics and European integration for decades. That was the decision to award this politician for the first time by Tatra Summit European Award 2016. And that brings me to the moment when I'd like to invite Minister of Finance of the Slovak Republic, Peter Kažimír, and His Excellency Minister of Finance of the Federal Republic of Germany to join me here on stage. Please. Thank you. May I invite you, Mr. Minister, to present the laureate of the Tatra European Award. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ivan. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, dear Wolfgang. Many premium brands carry the famous made in Germany label: Porsche, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Audi. You are in the country where the automotive industry is really crucial. Bayern Munich, Adidas, of course, you have Oktoberfest, of course. And then there's Wolfgang Schäuble. Wolfgang is, believe it or not, a wholehearted, dedicated European. To be born and grow up in Freiburg, some 10 kilometers away from the French border, in the era of the post-war reconciliation, infuses you with ideas and dreams. In the world of politics, he's what we call the tough cookie. The man in the room who loves to read Heinrich August Winkler history books is an enigma to many of us. His dedication and bold attitude can drive many partners crazy, and it's often does. Trust me, I've been seeing that. I've seen that. So he once told me, I'm his favorite social democrat, finance minister. You have to ask him why. I do believe it's because of my unorthodox belief in reforms and keeping public finances in check. Just imagine an EPP finance minister fond of a social democrat. Does it mean there is still hope out there is in the European Union? To walk in the shoes of Germany's finance minister requires strength, devotion, and ability to swallow many bitter pills. It's common knowledge that the public and businesses doesn't love finance ministers very much. Who knows, maybe in Germany they do. We need to ask them. Those who follow his career could joke that he has a magic ball showing him the future of the European integration. And how? I just remind you, the year was 1994, just 5 years before the euro was born. And Wolfgang, a close ally of Helmut Kohl, together with his colleagues, sketched an image of the future European Union. And in their view, had to address the solves following problems to get stronger and richer. Listen carefully, please. They addressed uneven economic conditions in Europe, migration, and necessary coordination of monetary, fiscal, and social policies. Sounds familiar even today, doesn't it? 1994. In 2012, Wolfgang told Der Spiegel the following: Europe's strength is precisely its diversity. But there are things in monetary union that are done more effectively at the European level. And also said, the most important thing is that we create a fiscal union. I could agree more. Yes, we can, and I will argue about, we will argue about how to get there, but the goal is clear. And that quote of his on fiscal union needs to stay in this room. I do hope. There's always a strategy with Wolfgang. Maybe it all started in the times of his once boss, Helmut Kohl, when Wolfgang was trying to figure out the most efficient way to buy groceries when going home from work. Who knows? His political experience is hard to match. To illustrate, he's been the Bundestag deputy since 1972. That's 44 years. Try to beat that. I was still playing with toys at that time. And my favorite was Scrooge McDuck in the time. Wolfgang's wife, who, by the way, saw a very different path for him than politics, said this about how politics influenced him, and I quote, "He has become more and more secure, always more secure about his cause. He sees himself unchallenged." Wolfgang, like few others, know the hardship of life, personal and political. His family, his will and inner strength help him to overcome the accident 25 years ago, and it has bolstered him, his devotion to politics. His past made him stronger and dedicated. Some would say too dedicated sometimes, and sehr, wirklich sehr dickköpfig. The world of finance ministers is a strange universe. Believe it or not, it sometimes allows you to grow friends, and Wolfgang is one of mine. We see many things similarly, but there are many we don't. I would call it a healthy debate. To survive in that universe of ours and cope with the madness of politics, you need something like a protection. You need a bubble. And Wolfgang is often using his irony as a shield. His smile is often hard to decode, but that's just how cryptic finance minister can get. I've been in the politics for quite some time, and now I saw many things. I met with many people, very talented, skilled, true political animals. And Wolfgang's gift is his sharp mind, and he's able to function at high speed, even early morning after half-day negotiation in dark room somewhere in the Brussels. So to conclude, it's my honor to stand here today, introducing this award, but that's enough of me. The time has come for a bit of that insight and ironic wit of his. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Wolfgang Schäuble.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2016 Tatra Summit European Awards.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Komm mal, komm. Bitte? Ja, ich nehme das. Das nehme ich.
Excuse me, madam.
So, does it work with this? Yes. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear Peter, thank you very much. It was for honoring me. I'm deeply impressed, and you delivered such a friendly speech with some irony. You will get any sent back for me. But thank you so much. It's a great pleasure to be here today. And of course, I feel very honored to receive the GLOBSEC European Award. I'm all the more pleased that this award is given for efforts to keep Europe strong and united. And as Peter just has said, this is a topic that is all my political life very close to my heart. I have spent most of my political life thinking about Europe, about the European Union. For much of that time, my efforts have been focused on how to build the European house, how to make sure that the foundations are stable. Recently, however, it seems that most of my time is spent not on building the house, but on repairing it, because we are in difficult times. The European Union is a unique project. It's an achievement unparalleled in the world. Sometimes we tend to forget how lucky we are to be part of it. I can't imagine where Germany would be today, for example, without the European Union. Impossible to imagine. And in a similar way that the European Union helped Germany after the war, I think that it was also a great force in helping countries following the defeat of communism transition into functioning, prosperous, democratic market economies. And when I think about how these countries have developed in years since, I am full of wonder at the strength of the human spirit and proud to be a European. And the Slovak Republic is one of the best examples of this. Not only does for your country post consistently good rates of growth, your sound fiscal policy, what is also the reason for sustainable growth, has allowed to keep your public budgets under control. And this has meant a healthy fall in unemployment in recent years. We just discussed over lunch that maybe the dual trade could be helping, even fighting even more successfully with unemployment, but you have made a really impressive fall off in unemployment. Slovakia is now a highly industrialized country. If I'm informed correctly, you even produce more cars per head of population than any other country in the world. And I thought we Germans were the car experts. But more importantly, the Slovak Republic is firmly embedded at the heart of Europe. Year for year, the Tatra summit grows in importance. And it was here last month in Bratislava, and the EU set out its agenda to bring us out of the critical situation we are currently in, especially following the disappointing vote in the UK. One of the prominent attendees, Federal Chancellor by the way, said the spirit of Bratislava was the spirit of cooperation. But to be frank, I don't envy you. Your first ever presidency of the European Union, and you are doing a marvelous job, by the way, but your first presidency comes at one of the most difficult times in the EU's history. Many people seem to be increasingly disillusioned. What was once a source of great hope and optimism is now a source of disagreement and frustration. The EU has to return to what it once was. It has to prove that it is relevant, that is capable of acting as one and solving the big questions facing us. Otherwise, we risk fading into insignificance. This does not mean treaty change. We do not have time for that. Now is the time to concentrate on the key areas where the EU can make a difference, using the instruments already available to us. And here are the 6 key areas as I see them, where the EU can and must make a difference. 1, please, I have to apologize, but for Germany, maybe for Italy as well, migration is number one. We have to ensure that our external borders are protected and follow up our agreement with Turkey with corresponding repatriation agreements with other countries. We have to be the ones to decide who can come to the European Union and not murderous people trafficking gangs. And we need to find a fair and politically acceptable way of distributing refugees. To be very clear, I am not in favor of a proportionality in that part. I think we have to have in mind the different situations in the different member states. And I have a lot of experience in that regard from Germany after reunification, when we had about 500,000 asylum seekers in 1991 a year. But some solidarity is never a one-way street, and therefore we must protect our external borders, solidarity and assistance for the member states with external borders. We can't leave them alone, and then in some solidarity in solving the problems. Number two, external affairs. We must do more to stabilize our neighboring regions, including the Ukraine. We have to develop the investment conditions and to improve the prospects of the people in these troubled regions. If we don't, the people fleeing to the European Union to escape famine, war, violence and poverty will only continue. This is why we are currently discussing a European Fund of Sustainable Development to create incentives for investment in these regions and to fight the causes of migration by improving local perspectives. Number three, security. Europe can no longer afford fragmented military structures. We need to strengthen our cooperation here. We need shared military forces with their own command structures. And we urgently need to improve collaboration between our intelligence services to tackle the terrorist threat. Number four, competitiveness. We have so much potential still untapped in the European Union, and such as a real digital union or a proper energy union. We have to be more intelligent with our investments, as we are doing with the European Fund of Strategic Investment. In the EU budget, we should move away from past dependent spending patterns and use the money instead in a forward-looking way to help finance the implementation of the political priorities agreed in the European semester. We urgently need structural reforms in the EU. Unfortunately, many would prefer to delay making these decisions. That's always any political animal is tempted to delay uncomfortable decision, but time is of the essence. But delay today only means more pain tomorrow. And that's why it's essential that we stick to the rules we jointly agreed in the euro area. By the way, you will remember that in our informal meeting some weeks ago, as finance ministers, Mario Draghi said, if you ministers, finance ministers of the Eurozone don't stick to the rules you have given yourselves, where will come a trust in the European, in your currency from? Therefore, we have to stick to the rules. I only quote Mario Draghi, president of the ECB, and I think this is allowed even for some tough German finance minister. Five, employment and education. I just mentioned the situation with youth unemployment in the European Union is frustrating. Many companies are desperately looking for people to train, even in your country, my country, other countries as well. And many young people are desperately looking for on-the-job training. We need to bring these two sides together, perhaps with a common European initiative. I would not make it too much bureaucratic. I would say give them such money if they go for a dual professional career in another member state or something. So few bureaucracy as possible. And finally, number six, the euro. We have already done a lot to stabilize the euro. Now, we have to continue our work to minimize risk in the banking sector and push on with the capital markets union. But above all, we have to ensure that we stick to the fiscal rules we have agreed together. The rules are there to ensure stability in the euro area. Don't forget that most economists have said a currency union without a common fiscal policy will never work. We have no common fiscal policy, and until we have to stick to some rules. It would be better to move to a fiscal union, but it's a long way to go, and we will not get a treaty change in a short-term foreseeable future. It's my concern. We can clearly see that those who implement the rules are those that are doing best. Normally, implementation is the job of the European Commission. The current Commission has chosen to be more political, and it has every right to do so. I am in favor of a political leadership by the European Commission. But this makes it more difficult to impose compliance. It's quite clear. And we should therefore start thinking about how we can ensure that the rules of the Stability and Growth Pact are actually enforced. Perhaps the European Stability Mechanism could play a role in budget compliance in those cases where Commission can't. What we have created in the EU is something that we can all be proud of. Yes, we are going through a crisis, but we will come out of it stronger, as we always do. Our European house is currently in bad need of repair. We need to become more economically competitive and to get our institutions functioning correctly again. Borrowing and throwing money at our problems will not solve them. We need to make our foundations more stable, and we need to do this now. This is the best way to combat the skeptics, to reassure those who have always looked to Europe for peace, prosperity and freedom, and to ensure that we still have a voice in the world with a strong, dynamic, unified Europe as we move through the 21st century. Maybe Piercarlo may remember once when we discussed in the IMFC Council and all our colleagues from abroad that, Europe is so bureaucratic and so complex and so difficult. Welcome, Monsieur le Ministre. Vive la France! When we discussed, and then I responded, okay, if you have in the world a better model for 28, 27 member states to share parts of national sovereignty for a common use, let us know. But as long as you don't have, please don't criticize us. Do it. And everyone all over the world is looking on the model of European integration. And therefore, we must be proud of this, and we must care. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Schäuble. My name is Peter Spiegel. I am the news editor of the Financial Times, and I think I am the only reporter, Minister Schäuble is the only minister who has been in Brussels as a member of the Eurogroup longer than I was a reporter in Brussels. So it's very nice to be joining you on this stage. I want to thank Ivan and Robert for inviting me again. This is now my fourth Tatra Summit. So I'm either doing something right or you just like making fun of Americans after I leave the stage. I want to welcome our audience, both here. You will get a chance to ask questions of our distinguished panel. We also are being joined live stream at the Tatra Summit website. I'm supposed to encourage questions via the Tatra Summit website and also the Tatra Summit app. But also there are tweets using the hashtag